Hello everyone, I'm going to talk to you about the last boss in Heart of Fear, which is Grand Empress Shek'zeer. In this fight we have 2 tanks, 3 healers and 5 DPS. Okay, the first phase will last for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's when the boss reaches 0 energy. At 30 seconds and 1 minute and 30 seconds we will get 2 dissonance fields in the raid. Also in this phase we will get 4 Cry of Terrors. These will be placed on a random raid player. Once we get it, the Cry of Terror will start doing damage to the raid. So what we need to have the people do is to go into the distance field closest to the boss. So if you get Cry of Terror, you run to the distance field closest to the boss. Now once in the distance field, you won't be dealing damage to the raid, but you won't be able to be directly healed either. So the only thing that will stop people from dying really is absorbs and using your own defensive cooldowns. If you feel that your health's getting too low, you need to step out of the distance field, get yourself healed back up, and then go straight back into it as you'll be damaging the raid. So with Cry of Terror, going into the distance field means that you'll be causing damage to that field, and the reason we want to do that is because once they explode at 0, it will deal raid-wise damage, and we use that so that they don't explode at the same time. So the stress is, once you get Cry of Terror, make sure you go straight and go into it straight away. The tanks on this phase will have to swap at 4 stacks. If they don't swap at 4 stacks and it goes to 5 stacks of the Eyes of the Empress, then the tank will be mind controlled and that will be a wipe. So I can't stress enough that it is a tank swap at 4 stacks, and we can't really make a mistake on that, unfortunately. We also get something called Dread Screech in the raid. Not a lot we can do about this. It's the reason why we all have to stay spread out, so we need to be at least 5 yards apart. Right, after the boss gets to 0 energy and the 2 minutes and 30 seconds are done, the boss will disappear into the back of the room and 2 sets of adds will spawn, one on the left side and one on the right side, and 1 tank will take 1 group each. We can't have them together because they will buff each other, meaning that they'll do more damage, so we don't want them to stay together. So we just keep them on the sides that they enter. Right, in the set of adds we'll get Wind Blades. Wind Blades are our first priority to kill. They're the smaller adds, and they will do 2 abilities, which is one where they fixate on a random raid player and they will chase them to make sure that you run away from that, and 2, they'll do Dispatch, which needs to be interrupted because it causes damage that we don't want. So melee and anyone around, please make sure you interrupt the Wind Blades. Right, the bigger adds, which are the Reavers, will do a cone attack, so you need to make sure they're not facing the raid, and we'll also put a bomb on random raid players. With this bomb, you just want to make sure that you run away from the raid, make sure you're not too close to the raid, and then when it goes off it will deal some damage and then it'll be healed up. That's it for this phase really. There are a few ideas we've got just in case that the healers are suffering of any mana issues. We will hold the last Reaver if we need to so that we can get some regen, and there are some other ideas that if needed I will bring up in the raid, but other than that we just want to get through this phase, and then once this phase is done it will be phase 1 again, which will be exactly the same as I just explained. So as we know what happens on phase 1, I'm going to go straight to phase 3. On this phase we do need to watch out on our timing. The raid leader will keep an eye on it and everyone has to as well, because we don't want to hit 30%, which is phase 3, with dissonance fields up. So we might have to extend the phase 1 and just keep an eye on our DPS. So just keep note. Another thing is that tanks, you'll have to remember that you do need to keep tank swapping at 4 stacks. Can't get to 5 because, as you know, if you get to 5 you might get mind controlled and then we all die. So you don't want to do that. Other things we need to remember for phase 3 is that the whole raid will go on the back of the boss, and we need to make sure we avoid an ability called Consuming Terror. This is where a cone, you'll see a cone appear on the floor. It'll be purple, like a purple smoke, and you need to make sure you don't stand in it, because if you do you'll be feared. So everyone needs to avoid that. It should be a lot easier to avoid because we're all at the back of the boss. The other ability everyone needs to watch out for is Visions of Demise. This is where 2 players in the raid will have an arrow above their heads and they will need to run out of the raid as fast as possible. The reason is because after 4 seconds they will be feared, and the fear is quite long, and also if they are in any of an 8-yard radius, if there's any players near them they'll fear them as well, which could amount to a wipe depending on how bad and how many people get feared. These will be dispelled ASAP by anyone that can dispel, because the fear is quite long, but you just want to make sure that you're not fearing anyone else. On this phase as well, it just will be general high damage, so make sure that you're using your defensive cooldowns when you can, keeping yourself alive, as well as the healers being on their toes and making sure that you pace your mana in this fight, because it will require a lot of healing. With Heroism, we will be using it on the 3rd phase, but we will be called out by the raid leader, as we are going to judge the situation, judge the DPS, judge how we're going, but it will be used on the 3rd phase. Our hero people. please listen up. That's it really. This boss isn't really that complicated. Just a lot of things to avoid, a few things to remember, and making sure our tanks and healers are in tip-top shape, and a lot of high damage. But that's it. It's very similar to Raid Finder, so a lot of these abilities you have seen before. Hopefully we will be at this boss soon. That's why I've done this video, because I've got a lot of faith, and I hope that this has been clear enough. So thank you everyone. See you.